I have a rare and mysterious skill that precludes me from going on the missions.
Typing.
Can you type?
No.
In the Christian ordering, the grouping of the prophetic books is the last section of the Old Testament, making Malachi the last book before the New Testament. One of the Targums identifies Ezra, or Esdras, as the author of Malachi. The Seattle man says he was detained, threatened inside CHOP while live streaming protest report. So he was able to say this at least. Sounds like he got out. I'm sure you've seen somebody like this. Or shooting in Seattle protest zone leaves one dead. Police say violent crowd denied them entry. I think by now a lot of us know this story. The question is how is this going to all turn out? Now, if you're not already aware of international relations, our government has an excellent ability to not only prop up governments, but to effectively take them down. I'm sure you've seen somebody like this, or maybe even a smaller city. A lot of people associate them with adventures, and a lot of times inside the bigger cities, they're just messengers, bicycle couriers, just like this guy.
Well, I'm here to kick some.
You don't think Delta can operate or will operate in the United States? Air Force investigates military planes that monitored protesters. The Air Force Inspector General is examining whether secretive National Guard surveillance aircraft improperly monitored demonstrators in Washington and Minneapolis. We really don't have to worry about that scene. What we should definitely be taking care of is ensuring that we're wearing masks, we're conducting safe behaviors like washing our hands when we get out there, and being mindful, because there's a lot of stories that are starting to emerge, such as these two hairstylists who had coronavirus. They saw 140 clients and no new infections have been linked to the salon. This is what the officials are saying.
The worry is that they're going to tip over into exponential growth coming this week. The challenge with exponential growth is everything looks okay until suddenly it doesn't. So this is going to be hard to get under control. We're not going to want to shut down businesses again. We're not going to want to shut down the economy.
No new cases of coronavirus have been linked to the two Missouri hairstylists who saw 140 clients last month while symptomatic. Both stylists worked at the same Great Lake Clips location in Springfield. The clients and stylists all wore face coverings, and the salon had set up other measures such as social distancing of chairs and staggered appointments. The Springfield Greene County Health Department said this week. So what's the issue then? Protests are very important. You see that there was a lot of new sentiment for changing of laws that should have been changed a long time ago. And there's a lot of other laws that need to be changed. Currently, the police can obtain your property, your money, your wealth, and not have to give it back without a hefty fight against them, which costs even more money. There's all kinds of other laws that are not fair. Politicians are making thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, off stocks. That's not right. It should not be happening. And you have Ohio's doctor not able to completely effectively do her job at that time because the politics, the people in the political power were afraid of losing sway. The right thing to do was to ensure that people were safe and that they had the knowledge that they could be safe. That actually took a back seat. And we see that the Ohio's doctor ended up stepping down. She took a lot of heat. Maybe it was too hot for her. I applaud her. It's a tough job. When you take lead, it's a tough job. And I think she did a good job. Do you remember this? As U.S. discouraged mask use for public, White House team raced to secure face coverings from Taiwan for senior staff. It's an article that was dated April 15th, 2020. On 8/12, when Jesus spoke again to the people, he said, "I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life." Now it says here, because the guidance from the CDC and prevention, the White House was not issuing masks to its staff.
We can go towards universal masking, something that's been controversial in some of these states. Masking has become controversial. It shouldn't be. It's not a very robust tool at that. But But it's a tool that we have, and it's a tool that's been demonstrated to have an impact if everyone does it, or if most people do it.
The White House was not issuing masks to its staff, according to 2 officials. But inside the NSC, a top deputy was convinced that face coverings should be used more broadly to protect both his team and the public at large. Fauci warns of anti-science bias being a problem in the U.S. The White House Coronavirus Task Force has been out of the public view as President Donald Trump has shown an urgency to move past the pandemic. Okay, and that single sentence right there, it explains everything we should know about any bias that people might have towards science. His urgency is to get people back into work, and we clearly seeing that people at work can be protected and protect others around them. So this is not an issue. It looks like the top nation's infectious disease expert, Fauci, has been warning Americans about the risk of further spread of the virus, while the president hasn't been. Of course, the article doesn't say that. It did emphasize that in the beginning. On Wednesday, Fauci, the director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease, joined the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, a podcast he calls Learning Curve. I think I like that. I might use that. And gave his expertise on the pandemic and the vaccine development process. He also defended the stay-at-home orders as having saved millions of lives and drew attention to anti-science bias and the disproportionate impact the virus is having on the black community. But really, is it? Anybody that wants to follow a leader such as the president might just see the science guy as just some science guy. The leader is leading. One of the problems we face in the United States is that, unfortunately, there is a combination of an anti-science bias that people are, for reasons that sometimes are, inconceivable and not understandable. Actually, they're conceivable. President Trump. They just don't believe science and they don't believe authority. President Trump. So when they see someone up in the White House, President Trump, which has an air of authority to it, who's talking about science, not President Trump, that are some people who just don't believe it. Just don't believe that. And that's unfortunate because, science is truth. Psalms 119, 160. All your words are true. All your righteous laws are eternal. Psalms 145, 18. The Lord is near to all who call on him, to all who call on him in truth. In this thing, science has a lot of valid points. We see that we can safely go to work. And if you've seen anything about the Syrian civil war, when things become chaotic and drastic change have happened, when food is an issue, when there are issues, other issues, legalities that are left completely unaddressed, things can spiral into chaos. So there are a lot of things that need to be addressed here. Everybody stay safe. It's clear that they lied to you. All lives matter. This is not a race thing. Wear a mask because all lives matter. And just look around the corner and you're going to see some policies that need to change.
That's it. That's our signal.
All right. All QRF out of the airspace.
All QRF out of the airspace.
All units, Irene. I say again, Irene.
Acts 5:35-39. Consider carefully what you intend to do to these men. Some time ago, Theodis appeared claiming to be somebody, and about 400 men rallied to him. He was killed. All his followers were dispersed, and it came to nothing. Therefore, in the present case, I advise you, leave these men alone. Let them go. For if their purpose or activity is of human origin, it will fail. But if it is from God, you will not be able to stop these men. You will only find yourself fighting against God.
But there's not much else you can do, and so there's no quick intervention that's going to bring this to an end. Because we're taking a lot of virus through this summer. We really shouldn't be where we are in June right now. It's not clear what's going to improve the picture in July and August if we're not going to start to impose additional mitigation, start closing bars and restaurants. And states aren't going to want to do that. They're going to be slow to do that. And so these case counts are going to build. But if there's a lot of virus still in July and August, it's going to be very hard for them to reopen these schools. So if we want to reopen the schools, we've got to get this under control. We might have to take a little bit of economic pain right now to get this under better control in these states to open up the opportunity to open schools in the fall, which is going to have a big economic benefit because parents can't go back to work in earnest unless their kids are in school.
Last week, we reported that locusts have emerged in northeastern China, despite theories that they may have come from elsewhere. They were found to have originated in that area. Now, the invasive insects have appeared in 2 more provinces in central China. Food supplies in China are in crisis.
Many say a drought hit Henan this year, which combined with the effects of the spring frost mean a production of around about 5,000 pounds an acre is considered good.
A small town in Siberia likely hit the hottest temperature ever recorded in the Arctic on Saturday. The official reading was 100.4 degrees Fahrenheit. That's 32 degrees hotter than the normal high temperature.
Some got less than half of that. According to China's National Bureau of Statistics, the average yield of wheat in China is less than 7,000 pounds per acre. China is the world's biggest consumer of wheat.
Any of you guys catch that dream I talked about with famine? Third seal? Revelations 22:17 through 18. The Spirit and the bride say, "Come," and let the one who hears say, "Come," and let the one who is thirsty come. Let the one who desires to take the water of life without price. I warn everyone who hears the words of the prophecy of this book. If anyone adds to them, God will add to him the plagues described in this book.